Hey, what's up? This recipe for fajitas is easy, fast, requires very little cleanup, and best of all, tastes good. In this life, there are very few recipes that check all 4 of those boxes, and the ones that do tend to stick around. This is weeknighting. To get started, I'll grab some chicken, and then right away I'll turn my oven up to 500F and then drop a half sheet tray inside to preheat alongside it. Ideally, a weeknight recipe takes about 30 minutes or less, and starting with a ripping hot sheet tray can actually shave up to 5 minutes off the cook time. As far as chicken goes, I've got 650 grams or 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and to make them into a fajita shape, I'll slice them into long strips that are somewhere between 1/2 and 1/4 inch. And if you're wondering, no, chicken breasts probably wouldn't work here, or any other cut of meat, because this process only works with chicken thighs because they're basically indestructible. They can take an extreme level of direct heat for a very long time without getting tough or drying out, and pretty much no other cut of meat is like that. And once I've got all 650 G's of chicken sliced up, I'll move it over to a medium bowl and then get started on my veggie prep. For that, I've got 4 large peppers of various colors and then 1 large red onion. First, I'll prep the onion. That'll be a quick cut in half, and then I'll take each of those halves and slice them into 1/4 inch thick slabs. We need an onion that can stand up to very high heat for at least 15 to 20 minutes without shriveling up or burning, so thicker is better here. Next, I'll move these onions over to the bowl with my chicken, then I'll cut my peppers. I'll start by slicing off the sides into large planks while trying to leave as much of that watery pith on the core as I can. If anything's left behind on the flesh, I do think that it's worth the effort to come back and clean it up. That white stuff tastes bitter and has enough excessive water in it to make our fajita steam in the oven instead of roast. Next, I'll cut those planks down into slices that are about 1/2 inch thick, maybe slightly thinner. These are going to shrink a lot in the oven, so go a little bit thicker than you think. I'll cut the yellow and orange bell peppers in the same way, and in total I'm looking for about 450 grams of peppers, 150 of each color. I'll scoop those into the bowl with my meat and onions, and then I'll grab my last pepper, which is green but not a bell. I'm talking about poblano. For me, poblanos are almost always superior to green bell peppers because they're not bitter or bland, and they have a nice fresh chili flavor similar to a jalapeno, just with about half the amount of heat. I'll add in about 100 grams of those with everything else, and then add in 12 grams of salt, 2 grams of black pepper, 10 grams of garlic powder, 10 grams of onion powder, 10 grams of ground cumin, 10 grams of chili powder, 1 gram of chili flake, 1 gram of oregano, so, basically a taco seasoning packet. And then lastly, I'll add in the juice of a whole lime, and then 25 grams of olive oil. From there, I'll jump in and toss everything to combine. There we go, and then I'll snatch that hot sheet tray out of the oven. I'll dump on my meat and veggies and then spread those out into an even, flat layer. Like I mentioned before, starting with a ripping hot sheet tray actually speeds up the cook time by about 5 minutes. The heat stored inside of the tray starts transferring into the food immediately, and we can avoid that 5 to 7 minute ramp up from cold to hot where there's no meaningful cooking going on. Now, I'll load this into my 500F oven to cook. And bonus points if you've got your pizza steel or stone in there, because that will also speed up the cook time. For now, I'll roast for 15 minutes, checking back at the halfway point. While that roasts, I'm going to quickly make a cilantro jalapeno crema to bring some acidity and heat. To make it into my blender jar, I'll combine 100 grams of sour cream, 150 grams of nice mayo, 25 grams of jalapeno, 1 garlic clove, then a whole bunch of cilantro with the stems torn off, about 25 grams worth. Then I'll grab a lime and my microplane. From there, I'll rip off most of the zest, about 15 to 20 zips should do it. And then next, I'll cut the zested lime in half and then juice the whole thing into the jar. Behind that, I'll add in a strong pinch of salt, maybe about 3 grams worth. Then the lid goes on and I'll just spin everything until it's well combined. And there we go. A light sauce with a ton of fresh jalapeno cilantro flavor, plus a little twang from that sour cream. The bright acidity here is going to pair perfectly with the sweet caramelized peppers and onions, and the freshness helps lift up the dark roastiness. Now, I'll just move this over to a squeezer. And then I'll check back on my fajitas. It's been about 6 to 7 minutes at this point, and as you can see, things are sizzling and steaming, but the peppers are still mostly raw. So I'll come back and gently fold everything together to get some new stuff touching the hot pan, and then I'll slide it all back in and roast it for another 6 to 7 minutes while I quickly thank CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video. CuriosityStream is the best place to find and watch documentaries about science, history, technology, nature, travel, and just about anything else that you might be interested in. in. CuriosityStream has exclusive award-winning films and shows that you can't watch on other platforms, and their documentary collection is deeper than any of the other streaming services. Let's just say there's no shortage of space docs, you guys. Drones in space, Trajectory, Space Robot Revolution, all the classics. Aside from space docs, I actually just finished an episode of Beyond the Spotlight about Mr. Beast. You know, my colleague, Jimmy, about how he got started on YouTube. There's also an entire category of true crime docs for you guys. I know you love those. Plus, they're adding new shows every week. So to get it, go to curiositystream.com/Brian Lagerstrom or scan this QR code for unlimited access to the world's top documentaries and nonfiction series. And for viewers of this video, use promo code Brian Lagerstrom at checkout and you'll save 25%. So click the link below or head to curiositystream.com/Brian Lagerstrom and save 25% off your subscription. After 14 to 15 minutes of roast time, I'll check back. The chicken is looking cooked through at this point, and the peppers and onions are about 80% of the way there. So I'll take my sheet tray out of the oven and then turn my broiler up to its highest setting. And if you don't have a broiler, give this sheet tray another 5 to 7 minutes at 500F. At this point, these fajitas are totally edible, as in the peppers aren't crunchy and the chicken is cooked all the way, but the flavor is not yet at its full potential. I want some smoky charred edges and caramelization to bring some life. So I'll load this sheet tray back into the oven, but this time under my ripping hot broiler. And after 3 minutes, I'll pull out my sheetie to assess the broiling and give everything a stir.
Ooh, don't do that.
At this point, we've got some nice dark brown bits going on, but I want to take this even a step further. So I'll load this back in and give it one last blast of high heat to really sear the top. While those finish, I'm going to quickly gather the other two things that I need to build these tacos. The first of which is queso fresco. I'll just give that a quick grate on my box grater here. I really like queso fresco for its salty lactic flavor, but if you can't get it, I would say use crumbled feta or pepper jack if you like it a little bit more mild and creamy. Lastly, I'll just drop a few puffy flour tortillas into a medium heat saute pan and heat them through for about 20 seconds on each side. Once they're hot, I'll scoot them over to a tortilla warmer to keep them steamy and floppy. I'll just pop a lid on this and then check back on my fajitas. After 5 to 6 minutes of broil time, you can see that we've got a nice kiss of charred flavor going on all over the top, and things are looking nicely tender. I love this method of fajita making over pan roasting because you get much more acute browning. In the pan, the sear kind of steams as it cooks because of all the moisture from the veggies, and you get a lot more of a pepper and onion flavored sauce than a straight up char. As far as the chicken goes, it looks like it was cooked on a grill, and it handled 25 minutes of direct high heat wonderfully. Thighs never let me down. To finish, I'll grab a large grip of fajita mix and drop it into one of my fresh and floppy flour tortillas. Next, I'll drizzle in some of that fragrant, spicy jalapeno cilantro crema, and then a strong pinch of queso fresco to bring some salty, cheesy funk. You guys, the hard roast on the peppers and onions here bring a lot of diversity in terms of flavor and texture. They're soft, they're sweet, they're charred, and deeply savory. They pair perfectly with that crusty, almost crispy roasted thigh. These fajitas are easy, quick, not messy, and taste good. What else do you need? Put this one in your weeknight rotation and let me know in the comments how it works. Let's eat this thing!